Thank you so much for checking out my YouTube channel. I am Nedra Tawwab. I'm a licensed therapist in Charlotte, North Carolina. Some of you may know me from Instagram, where I post as Nedra Tawwab. And I wanted to create a YouTube channel because I wanted to go more in depth with some of my really popular posts. I have a lot of comments and DMs about some things, and I do think it's important to clarify and be able to offer more information. And also, sometimes like right after I post stuff, I'm like, I should have included this thing. And so this will give me the opportunity to like add some stuff that I think might be very important for the post. Also, I'll be able to answer some more Q&A. So at the end of this episode, I will answer one of the Q&As from my Monday Q&A on Instagram. So here's the post I'll be talking about today. It's okay to be the first person in your family too. And here are the things. First person too, make healthy relationship choices, make your own decisions, set boundaries, hold people accountable, not attend college, practice a different religion, not practice a religion. Challenge the status quo, not get married, be openly LGBTQ plus, go to therapy, address your trauma. And I have something to add to that. So in looking at the comments, I saw a lot of folks putting up, being vegan, being vegetarian, which is a huge shift. When I was 16 or 17, I stopped eating red meat, which, is pork and beef. So in my house, I started to have to prepare my own food. I had to be conscious about going over Auntie so-and-so house because she puts pork in everything. And, it really made me more aware of, wow, this is really like being different. But I think it's important to know that once you do something different in your family, go to therapy, set healthy boundaries, all of those things makes it easier for the person behind you to maybe create a space for themselves in different areas as well. And I know the really hard thing about being the first is being the only, right? So when you're the first, there's not a lot of support. You may be having like arguments and really fighting to have this new territory for yourself. So it's really important to find support. And how do we do that? We have to be vulnerable and open ourselves up by sharing our story. And that's how we find our people. That's how we connect. That's how we get allies or, more support around whatever that unique thing is. Like, for example, if you're the first in your family to go to college, it's very important that you have a community of, maybe friends or colleagues who also share some of that. Because you'll be able to open up, you'll be able to have those stories, you'll have community, and there is a lot of healing just by being in a situation where other people have experienced it, they're experiencing with you, and they're able to share their stories and maybe some of what they learned along the way, because we don't know everything, and it feels absolutely good to be like, me too, that happened to me. That builds a lot of distance between you and the shame, if there is any shame, of whatever you're trying to be the first to do, or it builds network around you and being the first. So if you are the first, find community to really support you in whatever you're the first to do. So as for this list, I do want to add a few things. So being vegan, vegetarian, that was what I saw in the comments. And then my additions would be generational trauma, childhood trauma, moving away, practicing self-care, and starting a business. I think, all of those are really important. Like starting a business. I think like being an entrepreneur and not having a blueprint, not having anyone in your family to mentor you, not being able to, bounce your ideas off of anyone and really receive that support, that can be very challenging as well. So again, it's really important to build community with people who may be in a similar space to you, because they could be willing to, mentor you or support you through these very new experiences. So now I want to get into this week's Q&A, and I'll just jump into it. It says, I want little to no contact with my entire family, but they won't understand. How do I word it? So this to me sounds like a boundary, like you want to set this boundary around creating more space between you and your family. And sometimes with boundaries, we can verbalize them, we can act on them, or we can do both. If you think that someone will be particularly difficult, I think the first part for you would maybe be acting on it. So how do you act out your boundaries? You start to distance yourself. Maybe you don't answer calls as much. You don't go to as many family events. You start to create some separation between, yourself and then the other family members. And if conversations are necessary, perhaps considering having them as they come versus I need to have this full-on big conversation with everybody to let them know I'm separating myself for the family. I think when you do it that way, that will be a lot of stress versus in your actions just starting to create those boundaries. And as things sort of progress, there may be a need for conversations. And I think you already, you know why you want to create the boundaries. I'm assuming it's because you want healthier relationships. And I think that's a really important thing to convey when you're communicating the boundary. Like, I just want to be in a really healthy space, maybe not making it about them, but I just want to be in a really healthy space. And I think for me, having some distance in my relationships would make me feel healthier. But again, I think the first part of that is just like action, because if you want like no contact, we carry around cell phones. So you have the power in your immediate wheelhouse to just not answer the phone as much or, not attend certain events. So action, follow up with verbalizations. Let's not assume that it will be really difficult, because if you're like doing this in moderation and baby steps, it may not be this big overwhelming thing of I'm cutting them off today. It may just be a process, and it might be easier if it's a process versus an instant cutoff. So I hope that's really helpful. Thank you guys for joining me here. Again, I'm on Instagram at Nedra Tawwab. I have a website, nedratawwab.com, and thanks.